What's up, YouTube? MaNiaC here. I know it's been a little bit, but you guys see the beard. You see the beard. Remember when J. Cole came out with his album? He was in the studio all day. I'm back on the sticks. I think I'm getting fucking like carpal tunnel, but that's a separate video. Guys, I know you're wondering. Well, you can probably tell by the title of the video. What are we gonna be going over today? Today, we are going over how not to be a fucking nub. I'm telling you, I've been a pro since, Jesus Christ, I'm getting old. I've been a pro since 2008. I truly do believe, I mean, this isn't a super serious video, but I'm telling you, if you listen to what I'm saying, really take it in and fucking put it to use, I promise it will help you out. It's something I really do feel that a lot of people fuck up. A lot of people are just fucking nubs. Now, I'm not saying these steps are gonna make you a fucking pro, but I'm saying, honestly, I do believe they will help. Let's start with step one, attitude. Did I fucking spell that right? 3 of the worst qualities in someone that you do not want to play with, someone pros will look at and he may be good, but his attitude sucks. You know, it definitely holds this player back. A, they fucking nerd rage. They're just raging in game. I wouldn't really call it complaining. It's more, there's a difference between complaining and raging. This person ends up getting in like personal arguments, shit talking about the person's fucking mom or something. No one really likes him. He quits out all the time. You know, he's just not someone you want to be around. Next is we got the complainer, aka me. I'm a huge complainer. I've always been my entire career, but there comes a time, there are people that don't know when to turn that switch off. It's so noticeable who those people are and how they just complain or have some kind of excuse. You need to know when to turn that switch off. For instance, if you get in a lobby with pros or fucking some people higher up that maybe you'd want to team with one day, you gotta turn this off. Third step is blaming teammates. I kind of do it myself, but actually, I would say I used to do it, but people, 9 times out of 10, someone who blames their teammates, it's just because they fucking suck. 9 times out of 10, it is this player is insecure about his play or how he performed, and there's just no way in his little fucking brain it could have been his fault. So he blames other people. He never admits to himself, I fucking sucked. I shouldn't have done that. I should have done this. He just goes game by game by game, playing his game, but if he loses, it's because of his teammates. It's not because of the plays he made. He never addresses the mistakes he made, and therefore never really getting better. If you get into a pro lobby or pro 8s or just randomly searching fucking matchmaking with someone, if you have a good attitude, you're in good spirits, fucking calling out good, blah, 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 blah. It definitely, as long as you're not shitting the bed, it definitely puts you in a spot to where they'll play with you again. The more opportunities you get to play with certain people or people that may be pros or, you know, just a little higher up than you on the ranking of fucking skill or something, the better attitude you have while you get to play with, and don't just have a good attitude when you play with these higher ups. You need to have a good attitude when you're playing with your amateur friends, no offense. Now you may be saying, MaNiaC, obviously, these are pretty obvious of, you know, things you need to do, but it is so surprising, and I even know people, they don't know when to turn off their shitty attitude and when to turn on their good attitude. There is definitely some good, really good players that didn't quite make it to the top because of their attitude, and just simply because of that. Everything I say in this video is probably going to end up like coming back to your attitude, but I'm going to get into some other things. I'm going to get a little more specific. The next thing you have to do is fucking D-ride to the top. Now, D-riding is not going to bring you magically from the bottom to the top, but it sure as hell will help. There's a lot of people out there, and this kind of goes back to their attitude, that where they think they're too good or they're like too special of a person or something to kind of realize, hey, this guy's a fucking pro. I might want to get him on my good side. They act like they're too cool for any of that shit. So they have opportunities, or they might have opportunities to play with like certain pros or, you know, people higher up, and they don't seize the opportunity. Now, you may be good. You may be good enough to go pro. You may be good enough to compete with, some higher ups. But a famous quote is, "A closed mouth doesn't get fed." If people don't know who the fuck you are or that you exist because you're too cool to speak to anyone, then it's kind of like you might have the skill, but unless you make these kind of like connections and like social connections and try to interact and be a part of the scene, people aren't really going to know you exist. Unless your skill is fucking ridiculous, then people are not gonna know you exist. Formal, one of the biggest D-riders ever in the history of MLG. No, I'm just kidding, but I'm saying this to prove a point. Formal had ridiculous skill probably before any of us really realized it. I think I was one of the first people, like top pros, to team with him because of the fact that his attitude was so good. Not saying he D-road me, but he put himself, if he got into like 8s with pros or just anything, he put himself out there, made himself known in the scene. Like people, I played against him all the time in like Halo 3, and sometimes, I don't really remember specifically. He tells me he'd shit on me. I didn't, he might have been playing good, but I didn't, I'm not really gonna go to him and, send him a friend request and try to play with him because, it literally wasn't in my mind. I just never really heard of him, didn't really pay him any mind. Halo Reach comes out, he starts getting into more customs, starts making friends with top pros, starts playing in these customs, starts really, performing in these types of shit. I specifically remember playing custom games with Formal when I still thought I knew of his name, but I didn't think of anything of him. I don't know if he had been to an event yet or anything, but he was shitting on me. He was, I don't know, was it a 4 or 5 shot back then in Halo Reach? But he was out shooting me a majority of the time. It is online, and, top pros would be like, we'll always say something about LAN and XBL, there's XBL kids. But if someone's fucking good, you can see if they're fucking good, and especially if they do it consistently, which he was doing. And since Formal made these kind of connections, he got on a decent team. They placed pretty well, they placed better than what they should have, and because of that, I was like, okay, this team that probably shouldn't have placed what they placed pretty good, and it was probably because of this kid Formal right here who, and no one was even talking about whether he was dominating that event or not. People just saw the placing and then or at least me, I saw the placing, I think they got top 6. And I was like, this team shouldn't really have gotten top 6. But we actually played against them as well, and they could have beat us. It was a really close series. I saw his name, and it kind of just sticks out. You see his name, what the fuck, this random-ass team, and then your mind, I think back to the customs when he was shitting on me, and I'm like, okay, this kid might be good. What I'm trying to say is you're not going to have to fucking, D-ride everyone, but you want to definitely make some kind of, social connections, make some friends, try to, even now in Halo 5, I look at Frosty and Unlegit. They're probably the two, and Stellar. They're 2 or 3 people that they didn't D-ride, but they put themselves out there in the social interaction of the pro community, even though they weren't really pros, and people took notice of them playing 8s. If pros were playing 8s, they'd say we'd play. And, after a while, people were like, okay, these kids are pretty fucking good. And that's and now Frosty's on, some would say, the #1 best team. Unlegit's up there as well. And it's not like they're so damn good, even though I do think Frosty is really good. But it's because they kind of are just as good as the pros. They just weren't really in that circle, and they put themselves out there to be in that circle. They'd be in Skype calls and stuff, and they just put themselves out there to be noted. Eventually, it will definitely help you out. Even back in my day, I D-wrote a little bit to try to get pros on my list. I kind of was that kid who thought I was too cool. D-riding is probably not the best word, but going out of my way to try to get someone on my list because I thought I was too cool and didn't care. But I definitely did do that. I made friends with pros, and I kind of just stayed in that circle and didn't make enemies with people. So when the opportunity struck for, for me to get picked up or given a chance, people are like, yeah, you should, give MaNiaC the chance. And, you don't want to burn bridges. You kind of, getting into like the social interaction and the community of like the pros, and just trying to, just try to play with them as much as you can, build some friendships, and it will 100% help you out. Now, if you fucking suck, it's probably not going to help you out. They're just going to look at you as like the shitty nice kid. But if you do have the skill, if you do have what it takes, this is such an important factor. All right, my next set of advice is don't lie to yourself. This kind of goes back to the attitude as well. There are so many people that just lie to themselves. There are people that think they are good, just as good as the pros. People take notice of who's good, who's not. There's always eyes watching. People, no one's fucking absolutely disgusting and just like hasn't been given their shot. So unless you're completely dominating and people just really take notice, you're gonna have to not lie to yourself. Realize what you need to get better at. Realize when you suck. Don't blame teammates. All you have to do is just study the game. How can you be better? If you're better, that team that you're on is going to be better. If you look at a lot of the top teams, the people winning the event, a lot of times it is like almost the 4 best players. Like EG and H2A, when they were winning all their events, the reason why they were winning all their events is because they were some of the 4 best players. Now, some would argue to say that their teamwork makes them play better, and I agree to a certain extent, it definitely does. What people really need to focus on is just studying the game. How do pros communicate to each other? How do pros kind of analyze the game? The pros watch theater all the time on streams. So kind of how do pros look at the game? How are these guys at this level and I'm not? I was never a huge fan of playing as much as you can, but I think I did play as much as I can just because I was just purely addicted. But kind of like the end of Halo 3, I kind of died off on that, and I was kind of known as someone who didn't really put in the time. And that may be true. I may not have put in the most time. I might not have been the absolute best that I could have been. But I was really good because I really studied the game and thought about how the game should be played. I kind of like slowed it down in my mind. Of course, you don't want to overthink. That's like the worst possible thing to me. When I'm playing bad, it's because I'm overthinking. You want to study the game. You want to realize. You don't want to lie to yourself and just like put yourself on this pedestal above everyone else or at the same level of like the top players. You need to look at where you're at, analyze the situation of why you're there, take steps day by day to improve your game. In the worst case scenario, you may not just have it. You may not have exactly what it takes. And unfortunately, that's true in some cases. I'm not trying to, I don't want to kill anyone off of, their dreams of trying to compete at a top level or become a pro gamer. But, there may be some people who just don't have it, or they don't understand the amount of time that pros really put in. Nowadays, it's kind of like pros are consciously putting in the hours because they know that in Halo 5 right now, I have to consciously put in hours to get better. It's not like back in the day in like Halo 2 where I was just straight addicted at like 16 years old and just didn't want to get off the game. But I'm very aware of the hours I need to put in, especially for a new game. People sometimes, I think, get way too caught up in teamwork, and they think, oh, just the teamwork's off, nobody's listening to call-outs, blah, 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 stuff like that. I really do believe a lot of it is just being the best player you can be, and then once you are doing that, then you mesh into this, figure out kind of where everyone else's head's at. The better player you are, the more it's going to help a team. Just simple as that. All right, I'm not sure if you can read this or not, but it says communication. This kind of goes back to improving yourself as a player. It's not all about shot, but communication. Watch pros and listen to how they communicate. Literally, don't try to copy it because it's not like I can't call out how like Lunchbox or Roy does. I just simply can't focus on my game and call out how they do. Like people like, everyone's different. People like Roy can literally look at his teammate's screen mid-game and like still do his own thing and then just like switch back and forth. I can't do that. I just stare at my screen the entire time. I can't really, everybody's different. You got to figure out what works for you, but you really have to focus on your communication and realize what is important to call out, what's not. You don't want your communication to be too clustered. Go into pro streams. I wouldn't say copy how they communicate, but just listen to the way they communicate. It's like uplifting shit to make your teammates better. Like, one of the reasons I like teaming with Flamesword is because of his communication. If he's communicating to me that he's coming behind me, he has my help, it kind of, like, in like a weird way, it's like, it makes you, like, he's going out of his way to tell me he can help me. The way you communicate to your teammates definitely sets a tone in the game and can change how good people play or don't play. If your communication is trash and when you call out it's like a little fucking whiny, it's not going to help your teammate in the best way. If you're going into a game saying, guys, we can't fucking choke, that's not the best way to go into a game. I'm very monotone, so I wouldn't really say an enthusiastic voice, but if I tell someone nice job, they know it's genuine and that, you know, it kind of just like uplifts everyone, whether you're winning or losing. It makes people, the way you communicate can make people it can change the play someone's about to make. If I'm communicating with someone that, like, I'm with them, I got their help, stay alive, it's shit like that me saying I'm with them, I have their help, stay alive, it's gonna, you know, people, you know, that seems very basic, but that will make the person realize, like, it's not just he's hearing the words, it's like he's like, oh shit, this dude is coming out of his way to help me. It'd be a nice thing if I fucking stayed alive. I know that sounds very, very fucking basic, but it's just, I'm trying to like talk about like this fucking psychology of the mind. It's not that fucking in depth and crazy of like, but I'm just saying the way you talk to your teammates, what you say and how you say it, psychologically will make your teammates play better, or just team as a whole play better, I promise you. Communication though, you definitely have to practice. You have to realize when you need to be saying stuff. There are some people who just call out way too much, it's too clustered. So yeah, that's definitely something you have to practice. The way you talk to your teammates, like for instance, I'm a big fan of saying like, 2 dead, last 2 are here and here, rather than saying like, 2 dead, top card, they're pink street. Then people, it's like too much fucking thinking. If someone hears 2 dead, last 2, top car, and top pink, people know exactly where these last 2 guys are. You have to realize people, when they play, they get zoned in. So just calling something out, they're not necessarily going to hear it or going to respond to it, but saying something like 2 dead, last 2, here and here. Now, I don't want everyone fucking going into games and thinking that's like the almighty thing to say. That's just one example of like saying something, rather than like getting 2 kills and being like 2 dead, top pink, there's a guy or bubble. That's initially saying there's a guy top pink and there's a guy or bubble. If someone's focused in and not really listening, that could just go right through their fucking ears. But if you say something, it depends on also how you say it. If you say last 2 here and here, you know, for me, it definitely does a big difference. And that's just one small example. I'm not trying to say like that's the almighty thing, but that's just one example of like a communication tweak that a lot of people can do. All right, last thing, guys. This is something I even struggle with myself, is quality over quantity. If you guys are familiar with the Halo scene, Roy and Lunchbox, they are probably the biggest tryhard. They've definitely put in the time. They've played absurd amounts, but the way they practice is they have such quality practice, and I believe that is why they are as good as what they are. It is so important to, you know, I'm definitely at fault at this as well. If people are familiar with me, is I won't give 110%. You know, I might be fucking lagging or something will happen in game and it'll just throw me off, and I'm not giving 110% every single game. But I always notice, and I think this might be why I've always been kind of known as to perform good at events, but like suck online. Yes, at events, like my adrenaline's going, there's money on the line, but I also think it's like 2 weeks before the event, I'll know, all right, there's an event in 2 weeks, so, and I'll tell myself consciously every single night to go hard as fuck, which is just like in this instant, we have regionals coming up, and I've probably tried harder this last like week or 2 weeks to really improve my game and focus on my game, you know, you can definitely tell a difference. When you just scrim every single night, it becomes redundant, you know, it's kind of just going through the steps. Instead of that, you know, it happens to everybody. But instead of doing that, I really consciously tell myself to give 110%. And I think doing that the few weeks before the tournament really does improve my game. Whenever I just focus on that and really just give 110% for my practice. Now, I'm not saying all these other practices I'm not giving a shit, but people, you know, everyone will agree practice does get redundant after a while, and people do kind of fall out of the zone. And I'm definitely faulty of it myself, but it is something I want to get better at. And I think a lot of people, you know, a lot of people do just get complacent. They'll just complain about the game. It's like, dude, if you were at a tournament, would you really be complaining right now? No, then you probably shouldn't be complaining, because you want to practice how you would play at a tournament. That's what I always tell myself consciously before tournaments when we are practicing. And I should definitely, you know, I definitely do work on it. I've gotten better at it. In this game specifically, Halo 5, I didn't feel like I naturally had it. It didn't just come to me. I really had to put in the hours and really focus on my game. And a lot of other Halos, I just noticed when I really give 110% and really give quality practice, give it my all, like I'm at a fucking tournament whenever I practice. As far as like communication, attitude, stepping up my D-riding. I'm just kidding, but seriously, just giving 110% in these practices, that's how you should be practicing all the time. And of course, it's fucking draining, but for the most part, you know, definitely have some fun, relax, don't fucking cry over every loss of a scrim. But, you know, you want to give your all. That is definitely the best way to improve. Alright guys, that is going to do it for this video. I know it was a fuck ton of talking, but I hope you got something out of it. I've been a pro for quite some time, and I do think I've gained some fucking knowledge about the shit. I felt like I could help some people out really quick with some fucking... Well, this was a little unnecessary, but yeah, it's better than just straight sitting down and talking to a camera. At least I think. I hope you all got something out of the video. Hope you all enjoyed the video. As always, like, comment, subscribe. Really does help the channel grow. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you.